What simple plot hole ruined a whole movie for you? In Pirates of the Caribbean, dead men tell no tales. They explain that if you give away the magic compass, it releases your worst fear. Jack's worst fear is Salazar and his crew, so they are freed from the Devil's Triangle when Jack trades the compass for rum. But Jack willingly gave away the compass multiple times in the previous movies, and Salazar was not freed. But to be fair, the exact words were if you betray the compass. And since Jack plans out everything, maybe in the previous movies he knew he would get the compass back. In DMTNT, he trades it away forever. A Quiet Place. I can't believe aliens would hear you whisper but can't hear your bare feet pad across the ground, your general breathing, your stomach never making involuntarily noises, your elbows, knees, fingers etc never popping on their own. It's like they convince you that the hearing is so astute but even a dog can hear a creature shuffling nearby when we can't. Seems completely illogical to want me to believe they can hear you whisper but either they can't hear your stomach growl or you somehow managed to stop it from making any noises. Ever. And not a plot hole. But if it's the ducking end of the world and the chances are not in your favor for surviving, maybe it's not a good time to get laid without any prevention of pregnancy. Don't be ducking, morons. Why does someone always get pregnant? Dust storms of destructive magnitudes can't happen on Mars, but Matt Damon can still play one hell of a botanist. You can leave the country. The Purge. No one tries to do fraud during those hours. What a waste of potential. In the American Ring movie, the key plot point for the ghoul is that she's at the bottom of the well and the last thing she sees is a ring of light as they slide a covering over the top. The well top is thick brick. The round wooden cover is larger than the hole, obviously, or it would fall down and be a terrible well lid. They clearly slide the lid over the well. It should have been called the Crescent. I couldn't get over it the whole movie. How the hell did Austin Powers get that little truck completely sideways in that hallway? Somehow, Palpatine has returned. Bruce Wayne being completely broken at Dark Knight Rises because his share trading was allowed to stand despite the fact that there was a terrorist attack on the stock exchange. In X-Men you can't use Cerebro on Magneto, which I'm 100% fine with because the helmet, but you could use it on someone like Sabretooth who is standing right next to Magneto. Murade's map. Fred and George saw Peter Pettigrew sleeping with Ron every night on the map. Head. The twins never said a word but they knew who he was. Walking Dead, whenever they have 10 versus 2000 zombies scenes. I mean, you cannot kill that many zombies with just knife dart, it will break. Why do the cars have doors? Or seats? In Philadelphia, Andrew Beckett successfully sues his company for wrongful dismissal after they discover he has AIDS. Except, it's made incredibly clear that it wasn't cause of his AIDS they fire him for being gay. Even the defense makes that point. At that time in Philadelphia, it was 100% legal to fire someone for being gay. The trial should have ended oppositely. Why does Buzz Lightyear freeze around humans if he doesn't even know he's a toy? Gravity. So many mistakes. The one that stands out is George Clooney floating away at rapid speed after he detaches himself from Sandra Bullock. That just doesn't happen. He'll still be going at the same speed as he was before. Who TF is pushing him away? In Primer. Why didn't Guy 2 in Timeline 4 come back to Timeline 3 and destroy the box so Guy 1 in Timeline 8 couldn't go back in time to Timeline 5 and fold the box into Timeline 6? School of Rock. Any school in America. Jack Black would have been fired before lunch the first day. Suicide Squad. The whole movie was a simple hole. Why advertise Enchantress as one of the team when she's immediately the main antagonist? Slipknot died so quick. He basically wasn't in the movie. Mostly everything in last season of GOT. Not sure why nobody ever talks about the fact that at midnight the glass slipper would turn back to a normal shoe just like the dress, carriage, horses and everything else did. In that first Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie, if the two halves of the magic triangle thing are pieced together, it's an ultimate dangerous weapon. It must be destroyed. She finds one half early on. Rest of the movie, they have to track down the guy with the other half. OMG, just destroy the half you do have, then the other half that he has will be rendered useless. Gremlins had the how far after midnight question. But that's more of an unanswered question than a plot hole. The animated Beauty and the Beast. In Be Our Guest. The Candleman. It's been a long time since I've watched it. I forget his name. Says they've been rusting for 10 years. Well, that means the Beast was 11 when he turned the witch, Enchantress, away. Also, the Beast was not an 11-year-old king. As it states, he was a prince. Where were his parents? I get that he should be nice. But I was an edgy, mean 11-year-old too. Also, when Belle is singing Belle, she starts singing to the sheep at one point. Oh, isn't this amazing? It's my favorite part because you'll see. Here's where she meets Prince Charming. But she won't discover that it's him till chapter 3. When she is singing that, we are given a clear view of Belle's book, and we see an entire page is covered in an illustration. Also, the illustration explains pretty well what's going on. Later, Gaston asks Belle, how can you read this? It doesn't have any pictures. Yes, it does. It has pictures detailed enough that even Gaston could understand what was happening in that scene. Ben Affleck on Armageddon. Wouldn't it be easier to train astronauts to be drillers than it would be to train oil drillers to be astronauts? Michael Bay. Shut the duck up. 28 weeks later. Really? No one was guarding the wife who had just been rescued from the infected zone? They were wary of her enough to strap her down. But not enough to order a guard to watch her, even though they did so for the 2 kids? Right. There were no guards all the way in the building when the dad got infected until he got out and bit enough people to create a group of infected. Also, when they locked the civilians in the room, why was the dad alone when he banged on the back doors that Saru coincidentally his son peeked out of? As though he wandered the place by himself and found himself there. So somehow he's special, managing to retain some form of sentience even after getting infected? I would think after he got infected and started biting people, he would just disappear into the hordes of infected. It completely pissed me off. I stopped watching halfway through. The Matrix. How the machines use humans for power without explaining how the humans have the energy to grow and survive in their tubes in a sunless world that seems devoid of plant and animal life. Their explanation of feeding the dead to the living would break down within a generation. Even assuming 100% caloric transfer, thermodynamics are a thing. Maybe not really a plot hole, but Colin Farrell's character in Minority Report. Colin Farrell is an Irish actor with an Irish accent in real life. The character he plays, Agent Danny Whitwer, mentions he saw his father shot in the steps of his church in Dublin, Ireland when he was 15. There were several lines in the movie referring to him being Irish and living in Ireland until his teens. Yet, in the movie he has an American accent. Why? At first I thought, well, this is the future and maybe they've Americanized everyone's accents. But no, there are characters with English, British accents. Just why? I've looked all over online and I've found absolutely no explanation for this. It drives me insane randomly even when I'm not watching the movie, and I'm starting to feel like I'm the only person on the planet that's noticed this. Edit. I appreciate the feedback I've gotten on this and I'm so glad to know that others have noticed this as well. I'm enjoying reading everyone's theories. Ant-Man. They specifically say early in the movie that his mass won't change. Only the space between his molecules. So he'd always weigh 200 pounds. Later on in the same movie, Hank Pym has a freaking tank on his keychain. Also the fact that the ants can carry Scott. I know ants are strong, but he still weighs 200 pounds. Star Wars C-3PO and R2-D2 in the prequels create so many plot holes. Sure, they wiped the memories of the droids, but what about all of the main characters they interacted with? Old Ben Kenobi doesn't recognize the R2 unit that helped save his life on many previous occasions. Edit spelling. How do your Uruk-hai know what a menu is? Has your Uruk-hai civilization advanced enough to have a restaurant food service industry? Are there restaurants in Isengard? Why would Saruman develop a restaurant food service industry in Isengard when it seems like he was on a total war footing at all times? And likely wouldn't want to waste logistics and resources on developing restaurants where his dark forces could dine? Maybe Saruman was more benevolent than he let on, and wanted his twisted creations to have a full-fledged society and some comforts to bring them happiness before they went to war? Possibly, but nothing else about his character indicates such impulses. Limitless. If he's so ducking smart, why didn't he pay the drug dealer? That would be like priority 1 even for your average moron. I've stopped watching several movies where the hero had a perfect chance to kill the antagonist, but didn't. For no good reason. I just turn it off and say, nope, he's dead. In TWD, How the Duck Did Rick Survive His Coma? It's implied that it lasted at least a month, and he had no nurses or anybody giving him fluids or nutrients. So how did he live? How does Edward get an erection in Twilight? Pacific Rim. The breach is in one known location, never moves. Yet for some reason they decide to build walls or use Jaegers as a last line of defense once the kaiju are already out. Why not have a bunch of Jaegers on rotation stood next to the breach and blast the kaiju to bits the moment they pop out? Or better yet, have a whole bunch of those plasma cannons aimed at the breach. It's such a glaring plot hole that it put me off the whole film. Like yeah, we've seen now with COVID how bad we can be at handling global threats, but surely not this bad. In Back to the Future 2, if the old man Biff went back in time to give himself the sports almanac, how did he go back to the future to put the time machine back for Marty and the doc? At this point, wouldn't he only be able to go into the now new future where Biff is rich? X-Men, First Class, Darwin's death. Darwin's power is that he can adapt and survive anything. Kevin Bacon comes over and puts a light dandelion in his mouth and he just dies. For realsies. That made me so ducking angry. Debbie never technically did all of Dallas. I mean the movie was already ruined, but in The Last Airbender when the Earthbenders were imprisoned at some kind of camp until the U-Veteran comes by and tells them they just need to believe in themselves or something. Didn't even watch the movie, but apparently in Rise of Skywalker that huge fleet of planet-destroying star destroyers Daddy Sheev built couldn't even go up without a navigation tower. I'm sorry, but this is the same guy that overthrew an entire galactic government that had been in place for thousands of years, as well as an order of space magic super beings. I find it hard to believe that with the resources and time he had he couldn't even get a functional fleet built. In the first Frozen movie, Hans was going to allow Anna to die so that he could eventually take over the throne. However, the two of them weren't even married yet. If she died before they could marry, how would he have any ties to the throne? Make that make sense. The time turner in Harry Potter. Even as a kid it bothered me, honestly. So many movies open themselves wide open for potholes when they start introducing time travel. If you're going to do it right. Most of these answers are not plot holes by any definition of the term. Entangled. How or why does Rapunzel know when it's her birthday? In The Holiday, why do Jude Law's characters' kids have their own phones? One of these like 4. In Napoleon Dynamite, Napoleon asks the rancher if the chickens have large talons, and the farmer doesn't know what Napoleon is talking about. Of course a rancher would know the answer if he spent his whole life raising chickens. Avengers Endgame, as if the weakened economy could support sudden doubling of the population. Not to mention the mental health of people wished back. The ending of that movie is terrifying. Thanos wipe is a child's prank compared to the galaxy-wide famine and conflict that Avengers have carelessly set up. Independence Day. Oh, this computer virus will magically work on their alien technology, because that's how we got computers, right? If TV shows count, in How I Met Your Mother, Robin was a completely different person when she first met the group. If I had to guess, they hadn't fully thought up her character and needed fears than had a better idea. Lucy, we don't actually only use 10% of our brain. Or if we do, though the numbers are off, it's in the same sense that a stoplight only uses 1/3 of its lights. If we used 100% of our brain, we wouldn't become telekinetic, we'd be having a seizure. In Finland, Shawshank Redemption was called Rita Hayworth. Avin Pakun. Rita Hayworth. A key for escape. That pretty much sums up and spoils the ending and the title. We all know Jack could have fit on that damn door. He died because Rose didn't want to move. My roommate says the fact that the First Order somehow couldn't catch up to the Resistance in Star Wars Episode 8 is the reason he no longer cares about those movies. TV, not movie. When they serialized Dune for cable I was hella excited. Watching the first episode and they get to the Freeman Siege and they are explaining how you never go outside without your still suit while in a sunny open air garden with people dressed in indoor clothes harvesting food. I changed channels and never tried watching it again. Excited for the new movies, though.